Welcome to the Operator's Table. I'm Cris Morgado. Today I'm joined by Ron Dichter, CEO of Sixpack, an all-in-one business platform facilitating online and in-person sales, customer management, scheduling, subscriptions, payments, communication, and community engagement with integrated payments that helps real-world operators run, sell, and get paid. Ron, welcome. Where are you calling from today?
Cris, thanks so much for having me. It's an honor to be on your show. I am calling you from Park City, Utah today.
Awesome. Thanks for making the time. Thank you. Thank you. So, for the people out there to have an understanding of your role, can you give us like a snapshot of what you focused on and what is your role right now?
Yes. Sixpack is, as you said, I think you did a better job than I would myself of explaining it. But, we're a business and payment software. We serve just under 1,000 businesses that span all sorts of verticals from, food and beverage to medical, fitness, nutrition, and a host of others. I'm kind of involved with it all at this point. So whether it comes to product roadmap, whether we're talking about the marketing, whether we're talking about the sales, or even the onboarding and support, I've got a pretty lean team, but generally speaking, I've got somebody who runs each of those different facets. But I'm involved with more or less every step of it.
Okay. So, what's the size of your team at the moment?
So we are a total of 9 people right now.
Okay. So, you're growing. That's cool. So, for the audience out there, the arc of the podcast today is like talking a little bit about the origin story, what's working versus fiction, any industry trends we touch upon, any tech automation goals, and the short lightning round. So, because this podcast is also aimed at individuals that want to join the entrepreneurial journey, for you, what was the spark that made you think I want to go it alone in the terms of not working on a 9 to 5, but doing my own business? What was the spark for you?
Chris, we got to go back in time here. So I have been uh, on my own as an entrepreneur for over 30 years now. And so I actually got started my junior year of college. And I don't know if it was a spark or as much as it was a necessity. I was a poor college student and I needed a way to make money so I didn't end up with hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt when I graduated. And so started looking for jobs that could pay me a decent amount of money, which led me to starting to learn about the internet and websites. And my first business literally was started when I was the just getting into my junior year of college, and ended up graduating college, and I had 100 employees. So I got started early, and I don't even know what a 9 to 5 job looks like because I've been working from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. for 30 years now on my own, and never even fathomed the idea of going to get a job at this point. It's just not been in my DNA.
Okay, so was your first business then like website development, marketing?
So my first business was a company called Millennium International. It was in 1995, and it was bridging the gap between consumers and merchants on the web, which today is kind of a joke, but back in 1995 was, fairly revolutionary. We were basically creating a virtual mall that allowed consumers to find businesses in one place, connect with them, and we allowed businesses to create a website or their virtual store, if you will, at the time. And it was kind of bridging that gap. But I was figuring it out on the fly, but that's kind of how it all got started.
Okay, I wonder why you didn't take those original seeds of almost a virtual mall and go into Web3 and create something around the blockchain and or like a virtual kind of environment. I'm wondering why you didn't go down that route.
Yeah, because when I was 20 years old, somebody offered to buy it from me for what I thought at the time was a lot of money, and I sold it to them. And at that point, moved into a different space and became involved in the payments industry and went down that path for 20 plus years. And so I probably would have, I guess, gone down all sorts of things, but like Web3, I mean, heck, we were coding in long form HTML back then. I mean, there was no WYSIWYGs to help you build stuff. Like we were literally typing in, HTML code to build out websites.
Okay, cool. So, in terms of your journey, was there like a mentor or a manager or a customer that did say something and stuck with you and that led you down the path of entrepreneurship, or was it more, like I said, necessity driven?
So my father was a attorney for most of my life, and later on left that to go become an arbitrator. And I saw him kind of go through his own journey of working for big firms and big companies, and kind of being beholden to the schedule that was mandated by whatever the firm or the company needed. And I saw him change his life probably in my high school time frame, where he decided he wasn't going to do that anymore and went and started his own business. And I think at that point in time, I had the realization that you have a choice, right? And while the business journey is not one that's easy, if you can afford to take some risks, and I was lucky enough to do it early in my life, I couldn't imagine another path. So I think that that was something that really helped me understand early on, this is something I need to do.
So your influence, I guess, to start was your father, I suppose.
Yeah, I had a really great father, and very fortunate in that. And I think he taught me a lot of lessons about thinking for yourself and controlling your destiny and doing what you think is going to make you happy versus what others perceive you as. And he was always really grounded in that. So yeah, I think he was really instrumental in my life.
That's very good. So in terms of Sixpack, what was the founding moment? Was that a need you saw? Or was there like a particular bugbear that people had you were trying to solve for? What was the moment for you to create Sixpack?
It's a great question. For the last, let's call it 12 years of my payments career. So in the payment space for the last 12 years, I've been building integrations into software platforms. And what I realized as I was building, and I built hundreds of integrations for large software companies and accounting platforms and ERPs. And I started to have this realization that what ends up happening is you have this software that does what it's supposed to do. And then you have these third party integrations like payments, which does what they're supposed to do. But when you bring those two together, you have two competing business models that both need to make money off of one single customer. And when an issue happens, it's always their fault, right? You blame them. And I thought, gosh, if I could own that experience, both from the software platform side, but also from the payments and any third party, platform we decide to build, rather than integrating it, if we could just build it, while it is probably more expensive and slower, the end experience to the customer is a better, more reliable platform with only one person to blame if something doesn't go right. And so I think as I had that experience working with those different software platforms, it made me realize that doing it myself and controlling that experience is going to give me a better experience for my customers. And that's really what motivated me to want to build Sixpack.
That makes sense. So there's like more of an integrated journey. You don't have different providers and different kind of points of failure, I suppose. Yeah. So in terms of Sixpack, why the term, the name Sixpack? I'm curious.
I get asked this question all the time. And it's funny, my license plate on my car says six pack, and people always think like, let's see this 50-year-old guy with a six pack. What's funny about it is when you think about fitness. So just to give you a little background, I have always been super into fitness. It's just been a part of my life since I was probably 13 years old. I've always been into sports, and fitness has always been like the cornerstone of my existence. And anytime you go into workout or you start with a trainer or a different class, everybody talks about the same thing, the core, right? You can't have a good workout if you don't have a strong core. You can't build muscle if you don't have a strong core. And so I thought to myself, well, you can't have a strong business if you don't have a strong core of the business. And so I want to be that core. I want to be the center point for a business to build upon. And so I want to be that strength that allows them to make decisions knowing that the core platform they run their business on is strong and stable and able to handle what they throw at it.
That's brilliant. I see. Now I understand why Sixpack a system to make it work. That's cool. So in terms of Sixpack, what's working well? And what do you think that, yes, we're nailing that. It's going really well.
I mean, I am my own worst critic, and I will always tell you that, the things that are struggles, but I could tell you, we're building a great platform that is very flexible and allows different types of businesses to use a similar feature, but in multiple different ways. And I think the maybe the agileness of our platform allows businesses to be successful. And I think that's one of the things that's going really well. I also think that our onboarding team is doing a really great job. We implemented a process early on called an onboarding coach that helps people get onto the platform. And I think that, helping people to be successful creates that stickiness and that good experience. And so I think that's going really well. And then we're slowly trying to define our ICP a little bit better, but still lots of things to work on.
Okay, now I guess with every coin, there is always two sides to it. So in terms of the working well, what's not working well for you? What is like some blockers you have in your path at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, time is my worst blocker. I never have enough time in the day to do all the things that I want to do. But I would say more realistic, the things that, in software, you can't solve everybody's problem on day one. And, really trying to hone in on what our ideal customer profile looks like, what our audience is, the ability to say no. I think if we can really hone in on our niche, I think we'll have better success. I'm a longtime entrepreneur, and saying no is not a word that's in my vocabulary. And so I have to work better and be more disciplined myself in being able to say no and really focus and hone in on, the single business type that we can have better success with. And I think that will allow us to scale and grow faster. AI has been really interesting, and just kind of the ways that it's augmented our platform and changed the way we think about kind of processes and really looking at the business kind of through a different lens. But AI is good, but it can also be a squirrel. And you start chasing it and you can get distracted. And so I think really honing in on our own disciplines of both product as well as in time and what opportunities to chase, I think will help us become better.
Okay, so I mean, you mentioned AI and you mentioned like you looking at defining better your ICP, but I wonder, is that a particular workflow you like to automate at the moment that you think will give you leverage and maybe free your time?
Well, I know our dev team is already leveraging some tools to help automate, but I'm more interested in front facing AI automation features that help my customers use our software. So, whether it be front desk stuff where we can help automate some of the front desk scheduling or ordering or any of the fulfillment aspects, or whether it's in the knowledge base and being able to create a better 24-hour live support where they can actually talk with our AI as opposed to doing chat. I think those are the things that are more interesting to me right now because efficiencies on my back end are obviously important, but I'm in client acquisition mode at the moment. And so I want to create tools that are beneficial to my customers, even if it means behind the scenes, my team might be running frantically trying to keep up. I think on the enhancements to the customer side is probably the better use of our finite resources today.
And when you look at some of those processes, like, are you developing all that in-house, or are you looking at partnerships to bring some of external expertise into these?
So as of right now, going back to something I was saying earlier about building, not having third-party dependencies, unless there's something that's so niche or so complex that we can't build it ourselves, we would much rather build it ourselves. Even if it's slower, even if it's more expensive, frankly, just again, because we want to control that experience. And just this morning, for example, my marketing guy was venting to me because we were trying to get out this email campaign for one of our verticals that we're focused on. And turned out the template builder that he was using was down. And I looked into it and turned out the third party plugin they were using was down because it was using something else. And so here we had this software that we're paying for that had an outage due to the fact that they were using a plugin from another third party. And so ultimately it ended up causing a delay in the campaign for us, which was frustrating. And those are the types of things I'm hoping to avoid. It's not probably realistic to think we'll never have integrations, but if we can build it and it's attainable in some realistic time frame that's not too far off of what an integration would look like, we're going to try to build it from the ground up.
Yes. And what happens if there was like a partnership where the integration or the processes you want to streamline are bespokely designed for you and given it to you so it's not dependent of a third party, if that makes sense?
Yeah. So if I'm following along, you're saying that I'm building in a third party integration that's specifically built for a connection to my platform.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say nothing is off the table, Chris. I mean, again, we get hit up. I couldn't tell you how many times a week we get hit up with somebody that wants to bolt onto our platform or do some integration, and like the time it would take to just chase down what's a real opportunity, what's interesting. At this point, we're letting our customers drive demand. And so if our customer has a specific company that they want us to integrate into or a specific feature they want us to use, again, we're going to figure out, can we do this on our own first? And if we can't, we'll look at who they're suggesting. I'll give you a great access or a great example. We work with a lot of gyms as well that we handle, and a lot of them have remote door access. And they wanted us to integrate remote door access. So sampled, call a dozen and a half, 2 dozen customers of what they would like us to integrate to. And I got 12 answers. And I'm like, well, I can't integrate to all of them. Like, that's not practical. And I said, so we went it one step further and we asked them why they like those. Like, what are the features that you like about it? We went back with our dev team. We're like, we're going to build this ourselves. Like, we're going to build a better solution that's not hardware dependent on some third party and build a better outcome. And again, it'll probably take us 4 times longer, but still something we can do in a relatively quick time frame. And that's just an example. Like, you can't build everybody's integration because that's just going to inherently make your platform look like the issue when you're dependent on, because someone's going to go down for some reason or another. And we just would, again, we really want to control that experience.
Yeah, I understand. You mentioned that you are in kind of custom acquisition focus at the moment. So we're all are familiar with the vanity metrics. So for you, what metrics are you really kind of zooming in? Is it client acquisition or is it growth, retention, churn?
Yeah, I mean, we're pretty, early on in that we have really great retention today. So we haven't spent a ton of time doing that because we genuinely don't lose clients once they're onboarded. We do occasionally lose a client from signing to onboarding, and that is something we are very focused on, is why. Is it a time delay? But really the metrics we're looking at right now is, what is the effectiveness of our distribution models? We really have 3 core areas that we focus on today. We have a direct sales team, so we obviously manage their metrics. We have a marketing passive team that focuses on, free trials, self signups, that kind of thing. And then we have a channel team, and each of those have slightly different ways that we look at it. But everything is think about when you first start out, you have no benchmark, right? You didn't do anything, so you don't know what good looks like at that point. And so all we really try to do is focus on our own results and look at improving and enhancing what we're doing and becoming better at what we're doing, rather than trying to benchmark ourselves against some industry standard of what SaaS should look like, only because they're all sold differently. Their core audience is different. And we're just trying to get incremental, month over month, quarter over quarter growth over our own numbers and continuing to improve on that. That way, I think we can define what is possible as opposed to, again, some litmus test that may not be, exactly how we operate today.
Sure, I understand. So when your in-house metrics start dipping, and if there's a particular one that you are more focused on, like acquisition, or you mentioned retention is good, but there are other things that might be causing you to think, what levers do you pull first? Is it training? Is it copy? What do you look for to kind of stop the leak?
Yes. I mean, depends. So if it's a marketing related issue, we're going to start working on copy, content, lists, who we're marketing to, how do we get these lists, where they opt in from our website, where they opt in from social, like what did that look like? Could be part of the vertical. So with our marketing team, we're definitely going to look at kind of what those, what those metrics look like. From the sales team, same thing. We're going to look at, okay, if we're following up on leads, how many leads are we contacting before we get a demo? How many demos are we doing before we get a sale? Once we get a sale, what's the average size sale? Why are we getting that average size sale? So we really try to unpack the why around how a customer got to us. And once we understand how the customer got there, and we can look at all the steps that happened along the way, all the way back from like, how did that first interaction happen? Like if it's a marketing led lead, what determined that we should send that person this email? And understanding like, why was that campaign important? Like, why was that? And so I think as we start to think of, like, if you think of like a lead funnel, sometimes just getting the lead in might be the problem. Like we may put like a social post or a webinar or something out there where we're trying to generate people who are interested, and we'll get X number of emails. People are saying, yeah, I'm interested in the platform. And then we find out we got tons of emails, but all of a sudden we now market to those emails and we get nothing. So it's like, what was our tool that we used to get those emails in the first place? When were those the right kind of people? Or were these just people that thought they were signing up for something else and they got something in return? So trying to really understand how something got to the funnel as opposed to just what's happening inside of the funnel.
Okay, that's interesting. You mentioned quite a few of metrics in terms of the user funnel. What do you use to plan that? Do you have a particular metrics dashboard that connects all those in a way that gives you an overview of the funnel?
If I told you a really large Excel file with a pivot table, would you laugh?
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. So it's done manually at the moment.
Well, no, it's not done manually, but the what we don't have. So we have a few different disparate systems right now, and there are tools that we can use to aggregate that data. But until we get a good handle on why we're aggregating this data and what it is we want to have as the dashboard, we've chosen to do it manually so that we can have a more real-time tweaking, if you will. And once we get that recipe, then we can plug it in, and start to have some BI that helps us get more intuitive trends. But I don't want to spend the time doing that until I understand why I'm doing that. It's kind of the concept of, don't boil the ocean. Like, I don't need to go solve something that I don't even know what the problem is yet. I'm trying to figure out what the problem is before I try to create tools to fix it.
I understand. So you're aggregating now data points to see if there is any use in having those data points in the first place, and then how to use them best to then create a tool or something, or use BI to then bring it all together. It makes sense. So you mentioned emails as something that you do to attract your customers, and you also said you have like a direct sales and marketing and the channels team. So how do new merchants find you, and what's your best channel?
So we do a lot of adjacency marketing. And what that means is we'll find a vertical that we're having success in, and then we'll start really getting hyper focused on it. And so let me give you an example. Earlier this year, we got really big into martial arts studios. We weren't focused on them. We happened to be doing a campaign with gyms at the time, and some people who owned martial arts studios must have seen the posts that we did or the campaigns that we did and opted in. And that led us to bring on quite a few of them. And then we started to realize, like, this is a thing. Like, this is a vertical we can actually start focusing in on. And there's a lot of complexity in martial arts because you don't just have the martial arts studio, and especially in the bigger ones, you have cafeterias, you have gift shops, you have product stuff. And so there was a lot of opportunity for us to flex the software, because we're good in all of those verticals separately. But when you can bring them into one place, it makes it a better opportunity for us to shine. And so, as we start looking at areas, so going back to the martial arts, for example, we started to go down a rabbit hole in my marketing team, figuring out like, okay, like if we're good at, say, jujitsu, like, how many little silos or fiefdoms are there in the jiu-jitsu world where you can start focusing on specific brands or specific geographies or specific, disciplines? And it allowed us to become a specialist in certain sub niches because we started to understand the vertical. And that was, I wish I could say that was because we were smart. It was just we were lucky and stumbled onto that.
That's interesting. So, in terms of reaching out, uh, is that a particular type of content that works best for you, like long form or ads that are more like short forms, or how does it work for you?
I would say our best campaigns are a combination of short, punchy headlines, some really, really high level content, and a video. Because I think in the world of software, if you don't understand the nuances, it's hard to articulate that in word unless you read, and people have attention spans that are just so short today that the expectation for them to be able to read a long form email is very unlikely on a first glance. Now, maybe when you get them in, then they might be more interested and they'd be more willing to read it. So what we try to do is punchy headlines, whether it's in social or email, short little just few bullet points, and then a video of me or someone else on the team just articulating what the email is all about in like a very jazz hands kind of a way, getting people excited. Like that's really that combination has been the most successful for us. Plus, I find a lot of software companies aren't willing to do that. They want everything to be long form email or like white paper type stuff.
So would you say that your most successful channel is paid ads, you say?
We've never run a paid ad.
Wow, okay. So you do it like as a post in socials.
Yeah, or we'll do it more specifically through different channel partners that we work with, or we'll do it through verticals that we've had some success. We'll find some champion in a vertical to help us. And once we find that champion, we'll help them push us out. For example, I have a champion in the CrossFit space that helps me push it out. We have another one I'm working on right now that is in the trading card space, because we do a lot of retail trading cards, like baseball cards, things like that. And so we try to find these champions that help promote us. And again, we're still not perfect at it and we're still very new and small compared to some of our peers, but we don't want to spend money on paid ads until we figure out what that exact formula is. And while we think we've got some down, I think as soon as you get a paid ad out there, the response is going to be different.
So you leverage their socials and their email lists to then reach out to these verticals. That's clever. I like that. Now, I like this question next. It's one of my favorite questions. Um, if I'd give you a magic wand, and you could instantly improve something within Sixpack in the next 12 months, what would it be?
I mean, I would just have to say our sales, give me a problem, which like if you all of a sudden flooded me with 1,000 new customers tomorrow, it would be very hard, right? We wouldn't be able to onboard, we wouldn't be able to support, but I'd like that problem. I'd like to go solve the problem of being able to expeditiously board our customers and being able to support them and do that. So I think give me sales, give me people. If you have that magic wand, Chris, please send me 1,000 customers right after this call. That would be ideal. Thank you.
I mean, I might have the magic wand, but the magic wand might involve paid, which I don't think you are very keen to go down at this stage, isn't it? Because you prefer more the organic route to test more like copy, hooks, headers to then maybe go down the paid. But I guess if you want to ramp up leads, I guess the best way really is that's the quickest way. Or do you disagree?
Good customers or any so the issue I have with paid, and I don't have any issue with paid, don't get me wrong. Like I think paid ads make tons of sense. But I think there's a lot of people that spend money on paid ads that don't get a proper ROI. Maybe they think they do, or maybe they don't fully understand the lifetime value of the customer and they don't look at what that leaky bucket might be. But I think with paid ads, there's a different client that's going to come in with a different set of expectations. We've never done a free trial. We've never done a freemium product. And I think if we start getting into the paid world, we're going to have to start doing freemium products. We're going to have to start doing free trials. And I think that changes the dynamic because what ends up happening is we can't do some of that onboard coaching that we like to do that really helps create that sticky value. And so that's my concern with doing paid ads too early.
I mean, it could be that maybe at the end of this podcast, I've got another idea. Now, this one is more in terms of priorities. You mentioned sales, I suppose, and acquisition. But if I were to wire you 100K and you had three places to choose to invest from: people, systems, and marketing, where would you invest if you just had to choose one? People, systems, and marketing.
Is this 100K conditioned on equity or anything, or is this just a gift?
It's a gift.
Okay. Uh, so I've made the mistake in my past life where I solved problems with people. And once the problem was solved, it enabled me to move on to the next problem, which I inevitably also solved with people. But what it didn't give me the ability to do was to do the hard work of building a system first. And I think you need people to figure out what the system should look like. But once you understand that system, it's a hard decision for people to make, especially if it's working, to be able to take resources and apply them to a system. So I think if you were to give me 100 grand tomorrow, I would probably take half of it and build out a fully autonomous onboarding platform for both channel partners and for customers. And then I would probably take the other 50 and go spend it on paid ads since it's your money and you're confident of it. I'd go spend that and see how well that does for me.
So you said autonomous onboarding for customers and partners?
Correct. Yeah.
Now, inside the Sixpack business portal, from a customer point of view, what's the first aha moment they get? Is it something in particular you think that catches their attention that you should be voicing that more often in your advertising or copy?
I think we do a really bad job of promoting how awesome our platform is. Maybe it's modesty, maybe it's just time, I'm not sure. But I think one of the things that ends up happening is people usually come to us for one or two, maybe three specific things. And then they all of a sudden get into the platform and they're like, whoa, like I had no idea it has all these things. They may have done a demo, but they didn't care about those things in the demo. They just wanted to see the things that they need for their current business. And I think that first aha moment people have when they come into the platform is like, wow, like I can unplug this thing, I can unplug that, I can do this. We really are a mini ERP system for customers. And I think they have that epiphany that first time they log in when they're like, wow, like these guys are so much more than I realized they would be. And then the question is how quickly do they act on that by either scheduling a call with our support team or reaching out to the rep and being like, wow, how do I take advantage of some of these things? And the unique thing about our platform is we don't upcharge for features. You get everything within the platform, regardless of what subscription you're in.
Wow, that's good. I mean, I used to work for a SaaS company, and what we used to do was to map against our ICP the haha moments that made them stick on the platform. And then what we did do was a drip fed campaign to people that joined the platform that was intersped like 1, 3, 5, 7 days and so forth with the journey to that haha moment so that we could take them as soon as they signed and onboarded to take that journey. And if they did that, they were more likely to stick around on the platform. So I guess you mentioned you need to do work around your ICP. Maybe the next stage will be to then match any haha moments to that ICP and then create a campaign that is an email drip fed to then create that stickability. That's just a thought, but I guess you're working right on the right things. Now, in terms of the future for Sixpack, what headline would you like to celebrate in 12 months? What would you like to see Sixpack celebrating in 12 months?
Yeah, I think in 6 months, a really great accomplishment. I mean, you can start with the obvious one, which would be, I think we'd like to have 5,000 customers 12 months from now. I think that would be something that the team would celebrate about. I think continuing to take market share. But one of the things that I take, this is weird, but like I take great pride in is being bad talked. I love when like a competitor talks trash about us for two reasons. One, they know we exist. And two, they're scared of us. And I think that if I can get more, like right now, if you go online and Google us, you'll find some bunch of good reviews and some people talking about the platform. But what you won't find is people bashing it. You won't go on like G2 or Capterra or anyone, going out and saying how I hate these guys for this reason or something. And I think that having more exposure in a vertical of any variety allows us to really showcase like how much we give, how much value we give to our customers. And I think, I like when people tell me like, what's the catch? Like how can you do this? How does it make sense? Like I don't believe it. And I remember, I think it was either Mind Body or Wellness, one of the big platforms in the fitness space when we first entered the gym area, which is the first vertical that we focused on. And they said, they're lying to you. They can't do this. And I remember them calling us back and say, hey, we're not going to make the change because we called and you guys aren't telling the truth. And I remember vividly, because it was early on, I said, give them the platform for free. I said, give them for free for a month and let us put our money where our mouth is. And then ask them if we're lying. And we gave it to them for free. And now they're one of our biggest advocates because they realized everything we told them was true. And so I get really excited when our competitors start talking negatively about us. But back to your 1 year mark, 5,000 customers and competitors who are scared. That's really one of my biggest goals.
Yeah, I mean, we might circle back a little bit to what you mentioned earlier in terms of having a paid kind of mechanism plugging into the back end. You mentioned freemium. Actually, the SaaS company I worked for had a freemium kind of entry level, and it was very popular. Now the thing is that if you do freemium, of course, you have to maybe scale back some of the functions and then cap it, which then involves dev time. But freemium for us was very, very popular. Something for you to consider. Maybe it's not that bad, but it wouldn't necessarily cannibalize the people that really want to use the platform. And the freemium is just like a almost a ramp to see what the platform can do. I guess we know wrapping this up was very interesting talking to you so far, but I've got a few more questions. I guess one that really interests me is like finding out from entrepreneurs in terms of the like daily life is very hard. So what grounds you? But is there any particular thing that you do? Is it family? Is it training, hobbies, rituals, all of the above?
Hmm. I mean, my life is one big, like, organized thing. Like I'm very structured, and thank goodness I have an amazing wife who supports me, and I've got two kids that are in college now, but also great people. So I at least don't have to spend a lot of bandwidth making sure they're making good decisions, right? So I'm fortunate in that they are really great kids that make good decisions, and again, a supportive wife. But I think I mentioned fitness is an important part of my life. I get up at 4 in the morning, 7 days a week, and I've been doing it since I was 15, maybe. I mean, I've literally been going to the gym every morning, before school, before work, for as long as I can remember. And, I know that health professionals would tell me and have told me, you shouldn't work out every day. Your body needs rest. I said, right, but my brain doesn't. And if I don't go to the gym, my body might be breaking down a little bit, but my brain is sharp. And so to me, I always, no matter what, will make a workout in at 4 in the morning. It just gets my head on straight for the day. And so I think that's one of the things. I don't drink. I don't drink caffeine. Like I feel like if I can just put my body in the best place possible, it allows the rest of the day to fall into place. And so I think that's the most important thing in my routine. And you need a creative outlet. I like tinkering on a guitar and having that creative outlet. And I love to ski when I'm in Utah, and I love, to golf when I'm in Florida. And so I try to have some outlets that keep me grounded. But I really think if I could only keep one of those things, obviously family would be the most important. But outside of that would be my I would never give up my 4 a.m. routine.
That's impressive. I mean, you mentioned you don't drink coffee. Is there anything you take in particular that is not caffeine based that substitutes the caffeine?
Yeah, so before I work out every day, I have a beet juice.
Okay.
That's like and I have a powdered greens, which is like a dozen servings of fruits and vegetables. Like, I think those are my 2 superpower foods that I have every day. And then, I'm like a dog. I eat the same thing every day. So I have started the same day with a smoothie. Unless I'm traveling, I literally will make the same smoothie every day, and I have for 2 decades at least, maybe longer. And I could bore you with all the ingredients that are in it, but I think my smoothie is also part of my daily ritual that just helps me be the best person and best ready for the day person that I can be.
I mean, if you got time, I wouldn't mind if you got them at the top of your head, the ingredients
Yeah,
for them.
you want me to rattle off that? I'll be happy
Yeah,
to do it.
yeah, yeah.
It's vanilla unsweetened almond milk. It's 1 tablespoon of Faria yogurt. It's a heaping scoop of whey protein, heaping scoop of collagen protein, tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, tablespoon of MCT oil, chia seeds, dried oatmeal, cinnamon, and what am I forgetting? Frozen fruit, Wyman specifically, because I like their organic frozen blueberries.
Wow, wow. I'm gonna rewind this and take the recipe. I think that for me would be easier to keep it up than the 4 a.m. I've got three quick questions if it's okay with you, Ron.
Go for
This
it.
is mainly aimed individuals out there that want to follow the entrepreneurial path. So, one of them is what book or podcast would you recommend for entrepreneurs?
So there's a book called Trust Me, I'm Lying by a guy named Ryan Holiday. I think he was the CMO for American Apparel. And American Apparel's obviously got some scandalous stuff in their history, which I love. I love his take on just marketing in general. It's audacious, it's bold, it's thinking, it's not caring about what somebody thinks about. It's a really good book. It's a quick read, it's maybe 300 pages. Another one I read recently that I was turned on to is Make No Small Plans. It's by the guys that created the Summit series, which is a speaking series, and it was about their origin, which was really interesting to me. Just scrappy entrepreneurs that kind of grinded through, and I'm a believer in a term called projecting grandeur, and these guys personify projecting grandeur to the T. So I think those are probably the 2 most interesting books I've read recently.
What golden nugget would you like to share for someone starting out in an entrepreneur?
So my father, who I mentioned, who was really instrumental in my life, taught me something early on. And being an attorney and an arbitrator, ethics is key in his line of work. And he used a term for me early on when I started my first business. He said, always take the high road. You're going to be faced with tough decisions, and the shortcut's going to look oftentimes shinier and easier and maybe even more profitable. But don't second guess yourself and don't put your ethics in question. You only have one character, and if you hurt it, it's very hard to rebuild it. So always take the high road.
That's great. I actually interviewed Tom Valentine from Valentine Solutions, and he recommended a book which was Above the Line, which is pretty much about integrity. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think I quoted Sir Alan Sugar, which is an entrepreneur here in the UK. And he used to say that personality opens doors, but character keeps them open. And I guess when you are someone that follows the path of truth and integrity, it's core for business, I suppose. That's cool. And the last question I have is, there's a lot of work going on. You work from 7 till 10, long days. What keeps you passionate?
You know, this is going to sound arrogant, and I don't mean it to come off this way, but I've been fortunate enough that I've had 4 successful exits from businesses over my last 30 years. And I started Sixpack because I wanted to, not because I had to. And I think there's something really inspiring for me personally about seeing people use a tool that didn't exist that makes their lives, their business, their outcome of their own entrepreneurial journey better. And maybe selfishly, maybe selflessly, I really enjoy seeing people become better as a result of something I built and gave to them. Like that, I get real excitement out of.
That's great. Well, thank you very much for pulling up a chair at the operator's table. I want to say as well to anyone that wants to follow more on Ron, I think Ron can share with us now socials or anything that you like to share about your mission or where to find more about Sixpack.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chris. So Sixpack, you can just go to our website, which is sixpac.com. You can learn all about the company, what we're doing. And then at socials, I'm just at Ron Dichter. That's at RonDichter. I'm most active probably on LinkedIn and Instagram. So feel free to connect with me, and I'd be happy to talk to you.
Very good. Awesome. So if you enjoyed today's episode, follow us wherever you listen to podcasts and share it with someone who loves real operator stories. Today's guest was Ron Dichter at Sixpack. Ron, this was a pleasure. Thanks for your time, and until soon.
Chris, thanks so much for having me. Great show. Appreciate the time today.